What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Old Volks TV. Another exciting episode of the Kiki Bus saga. We're putting all the rusty metal in the trash can, and we're putting all the new green metal and Wolfsburg metal in. Today we got everything cleared out, we got everything cleaned up. We got a couple more little cuts to measure for the frame piece here before that can go in, and then we have the outriggers. I think we're going to put these on today. A little bit more frame prep before we hit it with that rust converter epoxy, just before the floor goes in. But we'll get all this stuff hopefully tacked in today. Got my 3-piece rocker assembly, which I am not familiar with. I've done where the two, get out of here, B. Where the two pieces come together, mounted, and then you just kind of stick that in there and weld it. I've done those. This one, the rocker is actually separated first and gives it to you as two, so we're gonna figure that out. And then we have the inner rocker as well, the back piece that actually connects the frame or the supports. So we got all that going on today. Lots of exciting, funky green metal going in. We got a B-pillar intersection. I got to figure out how to scab that in somehow. Just de-skin it and stick that in there. This is what's going to help support the body, which I have to fabricate a little piece for that. Goes on the edge of the rocker. Lots of work to do today, so let's get to it. Alright, so if you remember from last week, or the previous episode, we got this piece pretty much trimmed out, roughly trimmed out to where the old nasty rust is gone, and we have a place to put this. We kind of have an idea of where it's got to go. It's not exactly perfect yet, but we'll get to that when it's time for this one. Big part of taking this off now is to give us access in here to this last little frame support that we couldn't reach because the body was in the way. We need to get rid of the rest of what's in here, this rocker that's welded to it. There's a little top flangey piece and a couple on the side that we need to keep because that's what the new one attaches to. But we got to get rid of the remnants here, so we're going to go ahead and grind that off and get that cleaned up, and then a little bit of this. This is one of the pieces we had to order, that C-pillar. That's what's in here, and then the jack point goes below that, but I don't think we're going to put the jack point on, as I said before. So let's go ahead and grind this down, get this cleaned up, and then we'll start getting the frame prepped with a little bit of strategical primering. And then I think we can finally start tacking in some panels. So let's fire up the grinder and let's get to grinding. Alright, so we've got our outriggers sort of held in with hammers. You gotta use what you got. That's what I got. So hold those up because there's a tab on the bottom. So hold them up. We got our 3-piece rocker put in. Everything is kind of tacked in with grippy clippies that I've got from other projects and found them, whatever. So it's all kind of holding it in place roughly. The outer rocker looks good. It's kind of following the body line down at the bottom, so we're in the ballpark. So everything's going to have to be sort of massaged and tweaked. This inner third piece here is not really flat. It's kind of flat, and that's important that touches all of these where it welds in, because that's pretty much the strength of your outer perimeter. So we are going to have to clamp it to these to measure the U-shaped, what this is, the U-shaped support piece. We're not replacing the middle, we're only going to replace like the outer 18 inches or so. So we're going to cut that. But we need a good flat spot to measure from. So this rocker welded to these supports should, be even. So we're going to, like I said, pinch it, measure from about here so that it can sit on the frame a little bit while it's still tucking that nice and tight. We're going to cut it to the length that we want it, maybe just a hair longer, and kind of tap it in. Slide over the top of this, and sit down nice and tight. So we'll see what we can do. But for now, we're just going to cut it, make that piece while everything's sort of held in place to make sure that it's all good before we start welding. And then I think it's finally time to clean up a little bit of the frame and get to welding. And we can put these, at least put the outriggers in, tack them in, just tack them in. And then start pinching everything and make sure that we're lined up good, and then maybe we can get this whole side done this afternoon. Right, so we got the piece nice and cut now. It's trimmed in there. It fits pretty good. Got it all messed up there. Fits in there pretty good. I've got the outrigger in place now. Just kind of clamped to it to make sure that everything is the way it should be. If we push that back, everything touches nice. I got a little bit more of a gap here than I wanted, but that's the gamble you take when you fabricate a piece that wasn't ever meant to be. But I can fill that with some weld. That's not a big deal. I wanted to leave a little tab on the top, but I realized they're going to be at the same level, and that's just no good. So this will work fine. We've got just a little bit sitting on the frame here on either side, so it's, I like that. It's sturdy going down, and then welding it in, that should be just as good as that one piece there. And then, this is good. I was going to have to order another one of these because we came up one short, but I'm super cheap. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this half that we cut off that we're not going to use, and I'm just going to trim it down here, and we can actually use this on the front. It's just long enough. I mean, there's like a little bit to trim, and it'll fit in there. So I'm going to cut off the wings here. I won't have anything to horizontally mount, but I can make a little piece from some of the metal we cut off. Just make a little piece of angle and tack it in here and then weld it there. But at least the top part that's important for the structure is going to come sit right on top of the inner rocker. So that's pretty good. Be cheap, be resourceful, save yourself 35 bucks, or in this case, save Kiki 35 bucks, not have to buy a new one. So we'll see if this works. I'm gonna hack this up and we'll give it a shot. If it does, I'm gonna be super happy because this is one of the only pieces that we're waiting on to finish getting this thing all buttoned up. So let's see if I can make it work. All right, it worked. Sometimes it pays to be cheap. So I just trimmed off where that circle was cut out for the shift rod tube, because that was all waste anyways. I was gonna throw this piece out, but it just happens to be the right length to kind of fit in there just right. This, I know that this looks rotten, and don't worry about it. because I'm gonna actually take a piece of this gauge sheet metal and kind of weld it across the top as an angle. It's gonna just fill in right here like this, and it's gonna fix this piece, and it's gonna cover the top of that piece. So I'm just gonna grind that out, that little bit there, and we'll lay something across the whole top of this that's structural, that's gonna fix the bulkhead here, because we can find the bulkhead but it doesn't have the toe slot in it. It's just flat and it doesn't look right. It just looks kind of weird. So we're not gonna fix that. We're not gonna replace that. We're just gonna make a piece of metal that fills it, and it'll be structural and it'll be nice. And then we got our outrigger here. Just in there. There we go. Fits in there real nice. So this is a good way to save yourself 35 bucks, because that's how much this piece costs. So that's nice. We got that going, so I can weld those in now, and that'll fix that part for now. I'm gonna clean up the frame a little bit. We're gonna end up spraying this with some rust converter. So we just have to kind of hit it with a brush, wire brush, and knock off the loose stuff, and then the spray-on rust converter will take care of the rest. It'll turn everything into a nice gloss black, encapsulated epoxy covered frame, never to rust again. We're gonna do that after all the parts are in, because I want to get a good coating on all of this. So for now, we'll show you the little trick on how to primer behind the back in here where we weren't going to be able to get any paint on that frame, and now it's bare metal. I don't want it to rust again. So I'll show you how to get a little strip of primer back there. It's super easy. I mean, you can probably guess how to do it. But we're going to get it just inside here, so where we don't have to weld over it. And that way when everything's done, that part won't rust. It'll all be covered up. These are nice and coated inside, so these aren't going to rust out anymore. And then we'll have a good epoxy encapsulation on the outside. So when we get that product in, I will show you how that works. But for now, let's just start a little bit of cleanup, and then we can fire up the old welder and start tacking stuff in place and make sure everything's going to fit nice. Man, almost forgot about this little guy. This is a very important piece that goes down here. It's the B-pillar, and this fits in a pretty exact way into the outer rocker. That curve, you see that curve is in there. It fits right in that little pocket. So that's got to be just perfect. This thing rusted in exactly the right way, so that when you pop that in there, this little piece right here, lucky for me, didn't rust. So I have a good idea of kind of where it fits in there. So we're gonna fit it, and I drew a little line so I know, and that actually hits right at the bottom of that existing nasty rusty body down there. So I'm gonna trim that out. We're gonna have to butt weld it, because it has to be pretty straight, and it can't have any metal behind it that doesn't belong there. So we're gonna have to trim it pretty precise. But I got a good straight line there, and then this will drop in, and we'll just put a couple tacks in there again as we're getting everything aligned in case we need to move it. So let's do this one real quick. Then we'll get to the frame and doing the rest of this, outriggers and rockers and stuff. So let's do this one real quick. Ah, man, that was a lot of work. But we got it. We got the outriggers on. We got the supports, top supports welded in there, just tacked in, of course. The inner rocker. And after doing all that and taking my time and getting it to fit and everything, I noticed that the body had started to tear away from the roof a little bit there, which is not good. So I had to jack it up with my non-existent jack point, jack up the body, and then I made a little bracket out of some scraps of floor and welded that in, and then let it down. And so now we have this finger-sized gap here. So we're gonna have to undo that one, those ones, and that one in the corner there, just to raise it up so that it fits, you know, where it should. The rest of them are good. You know, we got this little corner piece in, and that's looking good. We got the upper support there, that's looking good. The rocker, I tried to tack it, but I had to keep undoing it because I don't know how that thing fits together. It was too long. I've had to trim it a couple times, but I think I finally got it to where it fits. So I'm going to grind those tacks off and redo them so that's, you kind of have to put the inside piece in and then put the outside piece on, it looks like, just because of the way it goes around this part of this bracket. You know, the inner one goes back here. So you kind of have to stack it and then weld it once it's in there, which is weird. And then get underneath and try and weld it from underneath. So all in all, a good day so far. You know, a little bit extra work, but it's okay. So we're gonna call it a day. It's getting hot, I'm getting tired, and I got work tomorrow, so I'm gonna go relax for a little bit. But we made some good progress, and I think we'll have it, you know, I'm gonna clean it up a little bit and throw a couple more welds in there real quick, and we'll have it done. So come back next time, and we'll get to the other side maybe, and you know, after that, it's cake. We're gonna get the floor in, and we're gonna be done. No time at all. So gonna do that, and you come back next week and see us. Hit that little subscribe button while you're here. Hit that little bell right there, ringy dingy, so you can get the notifications of the new episodes coming out. Every Saturday morning we'll have a new episode for you. Thanks for watching.